Hello and welcome to the Slow the Fuck Down podcast with Glow London and The Drum. I'm Emma Harris, Chief of Glow London and founder of the Slow the Fuck Down movement. In May 22, I had a completely out of the blue cardiac arrest and the odds of 96-4 surviving unscathed. Since then, I've been committed to sharing the perspective I'm now blessed with, that many of us are wasting the precious time we have on this planet with unsustainable pace and stress. In a world that's only getting faster, we're here to remind you that slowing down isn't just good for your health. It's about creating the right focus, making the right choices, and most importantly, achieving the life you want both in and out of work. In each episode, I'll welcome some fabulous guests onto the show to share their stories of how slowing down or not has affected their lives, their teams, and their businesses. Let's get started. On our podcast today, we have Ndubuisi Uchea. Ndu is the CEO and co-founder of Word on the Curb, a youth marketing agency powered by cultural insights that works with brands like O2, the Open University, and a number of agencies, helping them better engage with audiences often deemed to be hard to reach. Having led the award-winning agency for the last 6 years, Ndu has been recognised by Deutsche Bank as a creative entrepreneur of excellence, was awarded a place on the Marketing Academy Scholarship in 2022, and is a LinkedIn top voice. Joining Ndu is Amina Folarin, CEO of Oliver UK Group. With more than 15 years in leadership, she's recognised for her expertise in transformation, inclusion and sustainable business growth. She was named both CEO of the Year and Visionary Business Leader at Campaign's Inspiring Women Awards in 2025. Amina is a leader who knows how to turn business into lasting change. Welcome to you both.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being here. So, my first question is the question I always ask on our podcast, which is, how did we get here? When I mean here, in this world that just feels faster and more crazy than ever. Every week, most days, I'm having conversations with people about how exhausted and how burnt out they are. I mean, if I can ask you that first, how do you think we got here?
I think you mentioned it when we were having a conversation previously. We've always been here, but now there's increasing pressures on families, pressures on women, working men, just pressure from all angles, pressure to be great leaders. I sent an email today to my organisation in the wake of the demonstration that took place. How did we get to this pressure cooker of an environment that layers on just difficult situations for people? I think as a country, as a world, we've never been more divided. And naturally that causes people to feel unseen, unheard, unsafe. And that evokes a response in people. So I think we've always been here, but it's amplified at the moment because the world doesn't feel a safe place. People don't feel safe in their homes. They can't afford to pay their bills. So I think there's a lot of societal and economic pressure at the same time.
And what about I couldn't agree with you more. It just feels coming from all angles. Yeah. What about the marketing industry specifically?
I think the marketing industry specifically, it's impacted by all of those things. You know, the CMOs that I speak to are under increasing pressure to deliver more, but with less budget. Organisations and possibly the CFOs that drive them are taking short-termist decisions. And, you know, those of you that are listening to this that are experts will know that actually to invest in brand, it's not a short-term decision. You have to play the long game. Naturally, we've got it wouldn't be me if I didn't talk about the advent of AI. We've got this new technology in our hands that's, you know, both amazing and powerful, but also is changing the way we work. And we don't know what the future is going to look like. And so I think for the marketing industry, people are, what do we do? You know, do we invest in all this fantastic technology? Do we invest in our people? You know, do we cut our budgets? We know that they're cutting our budgets. And actually, the answer is we have to do all of those things. But it adds to the pressure cooker of which one do you do first?
I always say, you know, there's enough tough stuff. And now AI is coming for our children, you know. It's so overwhelming because it's not just the reality of AI, it's the fear of AI, which we can talk about again in a minute. Do tell me your thoughts. How do you think we got here?
Yeah, I think you've made some really, really good points, and I feel as though the marketing industry is just a reflection of society a lot of the time. You know, I always say like our jobs are, you know, a bit more like public servants, because we need to understand how the 99% of the population live. And in that reality, I do agree. I think that there's always been a how the fuck have we got here moment. Like, I'm sure if I speak to my mum about how she was 30 years ago, she was like pedal to the metal, trying to do college whilst raising four kids, whilst trying to hold down a job, you know. So like, you know, you take her 30 years ago and you put her here now, it's probably not much of a difference, apart from the tools we have at our disposal, which is what I think generationally, how generational differences appear. And those tools are access to the internet, access to information. You know, you can't really switch off from work because you take work home. You take work home with your laptops. You take work home with your phones and Slack. You take work home with social media and being able to interact with, you know, your colleagues or your kids interacting with their friends. So, you know, there's no compartmentalization in life anymore. You can kind of go through every single day interacting with people who normally you'd be able to switch off from back in the day.
Good point.
And I think that's what is just making that pressure cooker explode basically at the moment. And I think the division element is really interesting. Like I feel like it feels true, and I've always tried to question whether it actually is true, and whether like algorithms are just playing up to what is a way of selling division, right? Which is like, you know, interest-based targeting. So you think this, therefore you need to see this, rather than seeing anything else. And I hope that it's not true, but I do think that that's definitely playing a part in
100% is that algorithm. So I paused on a piece of content about Gaza, and literally then, you know, we'll talk about Gaza right now, but yeah, it was like they thought, oh, you're someone who has this view, and I just got hounded by it. So no, I agree. Well, we could talk about the division piece. That cartoon, I don't know if you've seen it. It's a really old cartoon, and it's a very rich man with a big pile of cookies. And on his right is a workman, a white workman with one cookie. And on his left is an immigrant. And basically the rich man is whispering to the workman, that immigrant's going to steal your cookie.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah.
And it's just exactly what's happening now. But yes, that's a whole podcast in itself. With all this going on, how are you doing? Like in work, personally, like how are you doing?
I think, you know, me personally, I'm okay. And I don't mean that I'm okay, that everyone says I'm okay. Genuinely, I'm okay. Sometimes it does feel heavy when you're leading an organisation. There's so many expectations from all angles. Again, not to beat up the CFOs today, that's not my intention. You know, whether it be the CFO, whether it be your leadership team, whether it be the people that you lead or clients. So there's always a demand on your time. But I think I learn, probably coming into this job, or maybe in my previous role, to give myself space. I think, you know, I can only speak from my experience as a black woman and the black women that I speak to, but quite often we don't give ourselves grace to rest, to have space. And I just didn't want to be that person that sits on a podcast with you in 5 years' time. Like, I had a great time as a CEO, but I burnt myself out and now I can't do it anymore. So I make sure that I do build in, you know, time to not reply to emails. Is anything going to happen because I didn't reply on my Sunday evening? Probably not. I can reply on Monday. So I put in really strict boundaries on myself and my team, because I think it's really important. Because if I didn't, I do think that the weight of everything that's happening from a macroeconomic perspective, but also within our organisation, would start to get on top of me. And as a leader, I think I have a real responsibility to make sure that I'm good first, so that I can really lead and support my team and my people.
That is brilliant and very unusual that you're able to recognise the impact, because most people, with all that pressure, it just is then exacerbated with that fear of, it's 9 o'clock, but I have to reply to that email because if I don't, and the natural tendency we have to catastrophize.
Yeah.
So the fact that you've broken that and you can set those boundaries is brilliant. And I hope you shout loudly about that to your team, because they might be worrying that if they don't email you, that you're,
No, they'll email me. And sometimes I have one in particular, he'll email me and I'm like, I'm only replying to you to tell you don't send me any more emails. It's my Saturday and I don't want to be distracted by this thing.
And more importantly, it's your Saturday.
Yeah, and also it's your Saturday.
Switch off.
Yeah.
You know, I always say athletes don't train 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So why do business people think that they should? Lindsay, how are you doing? How are you doing?
Yeah, definitely not that far. Doing well in that sense, or doing okay in that sense. I think I've always struggled with being able to compartmentalize, ironically to what I said earlier in my first question, and sort of know how to set boundaries. And I think just like the life stage that I'm at has probably exacerbated that, not being able to do that effectively well. I'll give myself a little bit of grace and say I've learnt how to at least set decent boundaries to recoup some energy. But I definitely look at my life and look at the last year and think, wow, that was bloody chaotic. You know, like the whole year has just been like jumping from one hamster wheel to the other. And I definitely am someone who like tries to do too much, you know, like at the moment I'm doing an MBA whilst running a business, whilst having a 2-year-old child and trying to be a present husband and a present brother and a present son, you know, like there's a lot I think you know, one has to juggle. And I don't think it's woe is me. I think everybody has to juggle those things, but I definitely don't make very good choices to make juggling those things easy, to be completely honest. So like it's been a chaotic year, and I think in some respect it has to be. From a business perspective, last year was really challenging for us, probably the hardest year in business that I've had. And so like, you know, the comeback had to be quite strong, I think, for us to survive, and therefore you naturally have to potentially do a little bit more than you want to. I think it's those other factors in life that are quite obvious to me that I'm not doing amazingly well at. Like being a good dad. Well, I know I'm a good dad. I can never say that. I'm a very good dad. But all of those things I want to be good at take its toll on myself, right? So like that analogy that you said to me once, I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, but like the juggling of like glass balls, and like, you know, there are some that are rubber and can bounce, and there's some that are glass and will smash if you drop them. And I think that it's more that I guess I'm not very good at doing.
Yeah, so you're juggling the role ones. I don't remember saying that, but wow, I'm brilliant.
Well
done me. I mean, you're very normal in that. And I think, you know, the thing I always say to you and to everyone is just remember the choices you're making in the moment are the right ones. That's all. It's just recognizing that, am I still in the office at this time and missing bath time again because of something that's been really happening, or because of that unconscious catastrophization that if I don't do that, then stuff will happen that isn't real. So it's just about in that moment.
And, you know, I think why I reneged on saying good dad, because I am very present in my son's life. But it's about, are you actually present, you know, or are there things going on in your head when you are there? So like, yeah, cool, you're giving him a bath, but like, what are you actually thinking in that moment? Are you thinking about your bloody P&L? Or are you thinking about like making sure you're scrubbing the back of his ear? You know, and like, and I think that's the bit that I want to definitely try to improve in.
Or listening to him. My 8-year-old's always saying to me, Mama, you didn't listen. I just told you something, you didn't listen. And it's because I'm thinking about other things, or someone's beeped, my phone's beeped and I've picked it up. So yeah, it's not just being in the room, is it? It's being really, really present.
How are you?
Thank you for asking. I'm all right. I've had a bit of a roller coaster of a summer, but I'm actually really good. I've been Danny's away, so I've been, you know, single mum for a while, but now, you know, looking to get back into work. I think such a big part of my identity is work, that if I'm not working, I actually struggle in a way, sort of like, who am I? Am I just this sort of, you know, domestic goddess, obviously. But yeah, thank you for asking. I'm good. Amina, CEO of the Year. You have a massive job. You might be one of the most grown-up people I know. You network brilliantly. You recently even found time to do the Marketing Academy Scholarship. Don't know how. And you just always seem so together and on top of your stuff. You've talked already. You've talked about the boundaries. What's your secrets? What else are your secrets? Tell us. We need to learn from you.
So on my birthday, my best friend and I, who are a week apart, we've been friends since we were 11 years old. We were talking about this because we were planning on travelling, and I was like, oh, I haven't done this, I haven't done that, I haven't done the other. And we came to the realisation that actually in my work life, in my career, I'm what people might describe as, you know, more of a type A person. But in my personal life, I am a mess. So don't believe the kind of that everything's put together. Kind of behind the scenes, there are people that are suffering as a result of my collateral damage. And it's mostly my friends and family, because I'm incredibly disorganised, a bit scatty, forget things. My husband is always like, you know, today we got in the car and he said, oh, you scuffed the rims on the car again. That's why I don't pay attention. I'm not in the moment. To that point about being present, when I'm driving, I'm not fully present. So,
oh God, where do you live? Avoid Beckenham, everyone. Avoid Beckenham.
So I think, you know, I do think that you can't pour into every cup in equal measures. So there are just some times in your life where certain things give. So the first 6 months of this year, you know, I had an honest conversation with my husband. I was like, I need to like ramp up what I'm doing at work. I'm not going to be around as much in the evening. Actually, even my beloved dog,
Did you talk to him?
Yeah. I gave my dog to my friend and said, look, can you just have her till post-can? Because I didn't want to kind of keep dumping on different dog walkers. And that allowed me to do things like finish the Marketing Academy, really throw myself into networking, which I thought was important for the business that I lead. Because I recognised that I couldn't try and do all of those things and lead the company well. So I think you do have to. In the Marketing Academy, actually, we did an exercise where we looked at how many hours we were spending on certain tasks and what could we stop doing to pour more into another area. And I think that was really helpful for me, because I don't think, you know, this kind of premise of work-life balance, I just don't think it exists, because it just assumes that everything can be held in equal measure. I think it puts more pressure. So I think if you can have everything, but I don't think you can have everything all at the same time. And so you have to decide at different moments in your life, what are you going to focus your energy on just to protect your energy? So that's how I do it. So in my personal life, my house is a mess. My poor cleaner is forever having to pick up my socks after me. You know, I forget things. These things happen. So I think that's how I do it.
I think that's brilliant. And one of the things I often talk about is that sort of who's in your tribe. And I don't mean, you know, just in your team. What I mean is your tribe. So I've got cleaner, I've got nanny, and it's just making sure, dog walker.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Where can I put it? You know, blessed that we can afford it, but where can I put that support system in place to make sure that I can not have to worry about what the kids are having for dinner or that? It's so important. And also people that give you energy. So just making sure that you've got, you know, a lot of the people in your life are going to be taking a lot of energy away from you. Who are those people? Sounds like you've got some great friends that are going to put that back. But it is, I agree, it's, you know, the balance is something that's always a choice.
Yeah.
And as long as you're choosing it for the right reasons, that's all good. Ndu, I kind of know the answer to this question, but I would like you to tell me it. Has there been a time where you really forgot to slow down and regretted it?
Yes. Do you know what? I guess interestingly, I think you're reflecting on one specific time that you're very aware of, but I guess the interesting answer is consistently. So I have sickle cell, which is a genetic blood condition. Essentially, it affects people in multiple different ways. I'm fortunate in some respect in the way that I don't necessarily have day-to-day struggles as many other sickle cell warriors do, but it affects me in ways that rear its head when not looking after myself is a reality. And And so I guess the time you're speaking and referencing is in 2022 when I was on the marketing academy. It was my second boot camp. I had weirdly very similar journeys to what happened to you. I'd just flown back from America the day before, and that was for, pretty sure it was like a work kind of related trip, so not much like sleep and rest and recuperation. Landed, and then the next day went to the marketing academy, had one day there, and like, you know, networking as you do, and then went to bed and woke up just in severe pain. So when you have sickle cell, you can get crises, which is like a build up of, not to give you an education, but sickle cell essentially makes your red blood cells C-shaped, sickle shaped, sorry, should I say. And it means that you can't carry as much oxygen effectively in your bloodstream, and also you know, you can lead to blockages in the vessels, which lead to painful crises. So I woke up like in just complete agony, obviously in like a hotel room by myself. Where were we in Luton or something like that?
In the New Forest.
It was Centre Parks. Centre Parks. So yeah, like I had to call an ambulance and like hobble down no, I didn't call I called an ambulance. They said they'll take an hour, so I called an Uber and then just took myself to hospital, hobbled down into the Uber. And yeah, I was having a sickle cell crisis. And yeah, like I was at on a panel the other day, or at a panel the other day, and someone said that they've had 3 children, and having a sickle cell crisis, you'd choose the pain of childbirth 10 times over.
Wow.
And that was like weird, because I've never heard like anyone reflect on, not that I think you need to like compare what pain is, but I'd never heard of how that affects different people. And so it's hard to put into words like what that pain feels like. But yeah, like it was a very much oh shit moment of like, okay, whilst this happened before, and it ironically happened the year after again, it was definitely at the time like a really scary moment, because I was away from family as well. Normally when it happens, I'm with family, so there's some level of like support system of people who know, people who can speak to the doctors, because information and understanding of sickle cell is not amazing. So I'm in pain, worried, having to explain what's going on and what my treatment plan normally is as well. And I didn't necessarily have any support around. So yeah, it was a wake up call. I mean, the irony is, and I am a bit of an optimist, always there's a positive out of a negative. And at that time, my wife was just like, look, we need to have children. We've known each other for like 12 years now, and we're married and everything. Like, we need to have children. And then, not to get graphic, but within 2 months, we can see.
We know what happened.
We don't have babies are made.
Yeah, within 2 months.
Could you explain that?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
Brilliant.
that happened in like what? I think it was September 2022. And then yeah, my child was born September 2023.
There you go.
So
there's a beautiful silver lining.
There's always a silver lining.
And he is delicious. Amina, so you're quite a rare breed in that a CEO. I'm sure everyone asks you this. So you come through the HR route. It's really unusual. But I imagine, well, I know you, that means your people are your obsession. That you're one of the few CEOs perhaps that really understands that without your people, your business is nothing. Not the money, it's the people. How do you create that, high level of performance? You're very results driven without pushing them too far.
I think it's been a learning curve, actually. When I first took the CEO role up to, nearly 3 years ago, although I am naturally a people-focused leader, because the expectation of me was what I was going to bring, and I wouldn't know the numbers and I wouldn't know anything about clients. I probably didn't focus as much on that for the first year of my role. And then those people that know me know that I have to just be Amina. I find it really difficult to be anything other than my authentic self. So probably about 6 months to a year into the role, I felt like I wasn't being true to myself. And that's something that I'd done kind of at previous points in my career, and I just thought, I'm gonna not enjoy this job if I keep trying to emulate someone else. I have to be me. And so that's when I brought the people conversation back to our organisation. I'm really I'm a huge advocate for inclusion within the workplace, so bringing those conversations back to my leadership team and saying, look, just because you've got a black female CEO does not therefore put the entire team off the hook for
box tick.
as to ever have to actually get into a room and have the difficult conversations, which we have needed to do quite a lot over the last 2.5 years in response to things that are happening around the world and how our people are feeling. So I think that it's a balance, because sometimes the two things can feel in conflict with each other. Happy people, happy P&L. But actually, if you do have happy, motivated, engaged employees, you will see the impact on the P&L. But sometimes in the moment, you can lose sight of that and how important that is for your business. So I try and anchor myself around that. And also, our people are our biggest strategic advantage. Yeah. Even with AI and the advent of AI, one of the things I always talk about, it's tech plus people. Now, obviously, people's roles will change, jobs will change. The job design of the future will not look like it is now. But actually, you still need people to prompt the technology. And so I think there's lots of conversation around future tech, the future of AI, all the jobs it's going to get rid of within marketing and the industry. But what about all the jobs it's going to create? What about the opportunity to actually take people on a journey now and help them upscale, help them reimagine their roles? I think there's not enough being talked about within that arena. So that's something that I'm trying to do much more within our own business, but when I get the opportunity externally as well.
And that's great for people to hear, because I do think there's so much fear. I mean, it's like I always say, when the printing press was invented, there were a lot of people thought that was it, because it was going to spread the word of the devil. Yeah. Because it was going to, be able to print, rock and roll music, that was going to be the demise of society. So this is just another shift, isn't it? And there is a lot of fear, I feel, in the industry that, and all this, 1 in 3 jobs or, but actually being aware that, it's a shift.
Yeah.
That I'm old enough, you're not, to remember before the internet. You don't remember that, do you?
No, I remember dial-up.
Yeah, but that's still...
No.
I remember my first 386 computer. So, but, people thought the internet was going to kill us all as well.
Do you remember was it 2000 when it was going to be the millennium virus?
Yeah.
It was going to wipe out every computer system going.
Nothing.
And we're all waiting at midnight like, oh my God, is it happened now?
Yeah. We talked earlier about so much stuff going on externally to, work's hard enough anyway. You've both got brilliant businesses that are thriving, and that's great. With all of the stuff that externally, political unrest, economic unrest, I can't remember a time where there was everything going on. And that sort of rise of the right wing. It feels like we're in the maddest time. We're also, I think, still recovering from COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's that sort of post-traumatic stress where the world changed so fundamentally that we're not sure whether that can happen again. How do you, and something I talk a lot about is controlling the controllables, right? We can't control whether there's going to be people marching on London again. We can't control, what's happening politically or what's going on in the economy. But what we can control is ourselves. How do you get yourself out of that loop, particularly if you're online a lot? How do you focus on, okay, what's my sphere of influence? What can I control?
Yeah. You made a really good point about COVID. I was going to actually speak about that in your first question, because I do think a lot of the how do we get here is down to COVID and not really taking a step back from realizing that it was actually a crazy couple of years. Like it's almost like it just happened and then, we're back to normal almost. And I do think there is still like a real chase to almost like make up or lost time. Some people have been reflecting to me like, I feel like I've lost 2 years because of COVID. So now I need to do everything and nothing's promised. So that's definitely something to realize and affects the question you've just asked, which, I can only speak very personally. I think whilst my business, as a media marketing agency, like focuses on like online kind of focused like things and media, I just have to not be online as much as that is, and I do tell other people to like have those boundaries, because I think it is really, really important. I also don't want to sound like one of those people who think that, you know, social media is like the enemy and the devil and has exacerbated everything. I think there are like pros and cons to everything, and there are definitely cons to it. I think it's just that separation. I feel as though social media doesn't allow for you that presence of mind. You know, when like, you know, I'm at home and if I'm at my mum's house and I'm all with my nieces and nephews, and it's really funny to watch, because it's not just the young people as well, it's the old people who are like on their phones at the same time. And we see each other a lot, but like, do we really see each other? You know, or are we just in each other's presence and on our phones? And so like, I personally try to like set decent boundaries on like how much I'm going to be on social media, because it does take its toll. And I think it has made us feel as though the world is literally ending, like, you know. And to be honest, I guess like having your own ikigai, your own reason for being, and understanding what that is has helped me personally quite a lot. Because whilst these things are going on, I personally feel like I have a duty to support in the conversation of that, just given the way that our business has been created as like a media publisher first. Like, people look to us for information, people look to us for things they didn't know, people look to us for conversation. So naturally, I don't want it to scare me to not do anything. I want it to scare me to do something that is going to help people. So
to find the truth.
Yeah, find the truth and share opinion.
Noise, yeah.
And share opinion, because I think that, you know, not to make this like an algorithmic conversation, but I think that one of the hardest things at the moment is people have lost the ability to converse, to have a conversation, to debate without upsetting people, to debate without, you know, sounding, you know, angry. And so I think that in itself creates that schism and creates that like that distance between two worlds, you know, because everybody's just hearing the same conversation from one end and the same conversation from one end and not having a conversation in the middle. So you know, I do take it upon myself in some respect to try to help people to navigate the difficulty in conversation that's currently happening. So yeah, I guess like to summarize, one is like set boundaries for yourself that like allow you to live whatever like clear life you need to, have a reason for being, and use that reason for being to try to change something positively. That's like how I answer that question.
That's exactly control the controls.
Exactly.
How can I be the best man, the best boss, the best partner, the best dad? I completely agree with you. I do think, I hope, in the future we'll look back at this time, and like now, I remember you used to be able to smoke in the office. I remember I had an ashtray on my desk. I don't smoke anymore. But I think we'll look back on this time and go, oh my God, we had no constraints on content. The kids were all on their phones. It will change. It will have to change. So I do think we'll look back at this time and go, God, we were all mad. We were walking down the street with our heads in our phones all the time, and that will change. Amina, what does slowing down mean to you personally? So you've talked about your boundaries. What do you do to really, so you go, right, I'm feeling a little bit, what's the place that you might go to, or what's the thing you do that makes, okay, I'm slowing down now?
Well, obviously, it comes from a place of privilege, but I run away to Barbados every year without fail. That since COVID, actually, because I did come really close to burnout. I had a really messy breakup after, you know, a very long relationship. It was pretty much like a divorce. I nearly got married. Thank God I didn't. I am married now, but I didn't marry that person. And that place just became like an escape for me, somewhere that I can go, switch off. Whatever's happening in the rest of the world doesn't seem to affect me. I'm by the sea. So that's kind of genuinely where I go when I need to kind of slow down and just stop. And I'm quite in tune with myself and my body. So I know that moment of I'm about to hit my tipping point normally comes somewhere between October and mid-November. I get seasonal affective disorder. So, you know, I just noticed that I'd be really grumpy with people, really short, just like, around that time of year. So usually at some point in October, November, you won't find Amina in the UK. I'll be in Barbados.
Love that.
And just kind of recognising my own cycles. I do tend to kind of run at 100 miles an hour the rest of the year. So that's my moment to just really take a completely different pace of life, get my vitamin D in, you know, be more in tune with the most unnatural thing for all of us as humans, which we all do because we all work, is wake up to an alarm.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, you never feel better than when you're in a country where actually you wake up at, it sounds crazy, but you wake up at 5 o'clock, between 5 and 6 with the sun, but you're in bed between 8:30 and 9 with the sunset. That's just such a natural rhythm for us as humans, and we're just not in it with, you know, whether it's because of the country or the jobs that we do. So that just gives me an opportunity to reset outside of not being able to kind of get on a plane. So I know that that's not for everyone. Just taking moments to connect with my family. Like, my family is really important to me, and having worked in, you know, a people role and also in my CEO role, you know, when you work in London, actually, because a lot of people are not necessarily from London that you work with, the family networks they're not as easy for people to access. And I do think that, you know, for me, that's something I always wanted to double down on. So we don't live far from, you know, my mother-in-law, my mum, 10 minutes from both of them. That really makes such a huge difference, because when it's just all too much, one of them's getting a phone call to make me dinner, and that's okay. You know, if they were far away, that would be quite difficult to do. So just kind of connecting with my family, seeking joy as well. Actually, I went to an arcade on the weekend with some friends, and just seeing 6 adults who were kind of all nearing 40 or there or thereabouts. I won't say how old because, you know, I never reveal my age. But just seeing adults run around an arcade, like filling 2p machines without a care in the world. Brilliant. It was just brilliant. You know, just seeing, we all just got to kind of be children again. And I think just giving yourself space to kind of play and be joyful is something that I think is really important as well. And something that I do. Not all the time, but it's something I think is really important.
So important. I discovered shuffleboard this weekend.
Did you?
Yeah. Which is, I mean, I'm very competitive as well. Yeah. So, like, I'm actually going to find somewhere I can practice and get really into it. Love that. And what about you? Where's your Barbs? Where's your equivalent?
Do you know what? I need to make it Barbados. Like, I've been there once and I keep talking about it. It was a long time ago though, so I need to make my escape Barbados.
Yeah.
It's hard. I don't have one that I use regularly enough that to come to mind, to be completely honest. And I probably do stuff that ends up making the problem better initially, but worse for the long run. Like, so for example, like, I'll write a to-do list and say, right, I just need to put my head down and finish it. And that's like, it might work for a day, but then the to-do list is going to come back. That's anyway.
Not slowing down.
It's not slowing down.
By the way, you will die with an unfinished to-do list. So yeah,
it's not slowing down. But I think, I guess it's a critique of myself, which is that I think that in order to slow down, you need to do shit first and then slow down after. So I'm trying to change that mindset to then slow down first, then you can be more efficient. I think the things that do come to mind, similar in some respect, but again, it's not immediate, is like, you know, I'll look forward to a holiday and I'll look forward to the idea that I'm far away from work, that then, you know, it's my time of just, like you say, waking up when you want, or like hearing the sea and all of those things. But the reason why I haven't said that is because it's not an immediate thing that I will do. So yeah, I think the things that I want to do are purposeful joy. So, you know, I for sure, like, I've got a very good group of friends. Meeting up with them just for basic things like watching football, to me, is like an idea of slowing down. Food, spending time with family. I think probably over the last 2 years, like, having my son has helped me to slow down a lot though. So like, I feel very simply, like, just closing my laptop and reading a book with him is like perfect. So I have those like little micro moments, and I just probably need to lean into them a little bit more. For sure. Maybe shuffleboard with you as well.
Of course you can.
It's just really a bit of advice for your listeners, actually, particularly those who are in employment. Your holiday is part of your T's and C's. It's part of your package. Take it. The amount of people that don't take their annual leave because they don't have a trip booked. You don't have to have a trip booked. The whole point of the Working Rights Directive was that people said that people could have a break and rest. And the amount of people that get to the end of the year and they've still got 15 days annual leave to take. I'm like, what have I been doing? I've finished mine. You know, it's really important for people to take their annual leave, even if it's just to have a day and just veg on the sofa. That works wonders for you. And I think people have this obsession with kind of just working all the time. It's okay to just not work, even if it's one day.
Yeah.
That's what your annual leave's for.
Love
Rest.
that. So important. And I agree, people don't. I used to have it all the time. Can I carry it over to next year? Can I carry it over next year? And then, exactly. And then, well, at some point, you're going to have to take a year off. So I agree. And I think that behaviour is driven by the fear. That behaviour of, there's never a good time.
Yeah.
There's never a good time to take a holiday. There's never a good time to do anything. Just do it. It's created that fear, that unconscious catastrophization, which doesn't exist. Absolutely. That's really great advice. Have you got any advice that you would like the people that are listening to hear?
Oh God, I need to get advice, clearly. Like I said, I'm coming here to therapize myself. Right? Like, every time I talk to Emma, I know I'm going to leave thinking, all right, okay, just relax, man. But on building on what you said, there's someone on our TMA cohort, big up Daff, and he has this thing called a Daff Day. So every year, or I think every quarter even, he puts a day in his calendar, takes the day off work, and also doesn't tell his family what he's going to do on that day, and just like disappears and like has the day to himself.
Love that.
So he might go somewhere, I don't know, by the lake, he might go somewhere outside of London, he might stay in London, but you know, I definitely need to get my Daff days in the calendar. Advice, I don't know. If I'm going to give advice, I'm going to give advice to myself, which is, like what my wife often tells me, especially recently, where like the effects of not slowing down are very evident for me physically, is that like, you know, I can do everything under the sun, but if I'm not here, then I can't do it anyway. So like, you know, you need to just prioritize that reality that, you know, you, not to sound cliche, but like that life that you're living it can be taken away very easily. And so just understanding that will hopefully, anyway, for me, give myself a sense of prioritization in what is important. Of course, I can say that now. It's very difficult as like a business owner because you become the business. But I think over the last year, for sure, last 2 years, I've seen how I can separate myself out of the business and be the individual and have the business separately as my entire staff are. And, you know, in some respect, like, you know, I think most business leaders hopefully good business leaders prioritize their staff before them. And even that might need a mindset shift because, you know, I think you can't pour from an empty cup really. So, I'd say those are the things that I'm personally trying to work on. It's not advice. It's just a reminder for myself. That's really honest.
But yeah, put your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's all about the choice, isn't it? Because it's just being right. What's actually gonna be more beneficial for me in that Daff Day, which is my new thing? Is it to get the shit I need to do done so I feel calm, or actually, can I find a different way to do that? Because that's the hamster wheel, isn't it? I've got to get it all done because you'll never get it all done. Actually, last week I had a workshop cancel and I had a choice. Do I spend the day furiously rewriting loads of things and doing loads of work? And actually, I didn't. I took the dog for a long walk. I went to the gym. I went in the spa at the gym, which I never... Man, I'm paying to get in that spa I never go to. I worked out, actually, relatively, it cost hundreds for me to do it that day. And then I booked myself a 2-hour facial and massage. And just on my own, didn't tell anyone, didn't make a fuss about it. And yeah, it literally totally changed my vibration. So whatever it is you're choosing, it's about recognizing the impact of the choices you're making. Guys, this has been amazing. It's been absolutely brilliant. Loads of takeouts, loads of honesty, loads of vulnerability. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here. This has been Slow the Fuck Down. Thank you for listening to the Slow the Fuck Down podcast with Glow London and The Drum. If you found this episode interesting and insightful, please help us spread the word by giving us a follow or sharing it with your friends. And if you feel inclined to give us a quick review, that would be awesome. Let's all do what we can to help the world slow the fuck down.